What's going on, everybody? My name is C4. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about some Madden 24 all Madden sliders you need to utilize in your franchise modes. People who have been watching my Arizona Cardinals main channel franchise. If you haven't, go check it out. I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I should take this personally. You're like, C4, you're playing with a 63 overall quarterback. We're using Clayton Tune right now in the Arizona Cardinals, and Kyler Murray's still hurt. And our games are competitive. Our games are not absolute blowouts, and I've had more than, I'd say dozens of comments, people saying they play on all Madden, and like they're getting blown out. And they know that I'm not that good at Madden. What am I using? What am I playing with? Well, I am using Matt 10's version 3 Madden 24 all Madden sliders. They are the most consistent and reliable slider sets that get released every year. Last year, like, he worked with Mr. Hurricane hand in hand. You know my opinion. Mr. Hurricane is the grandfather, the GOAT of the Madden franchise community here on YouTube. So anytime he co-signs, that's great. I've always kind of co-signed these sliders. So I'm going to highlight them to you right now. I'm also going to link in the description below the thread that he has over on Operation Sports. Not only so you guys can go and get a little bit more elaboration on why certain variables and valuables are the way that they are, but he updates these. It's kind of all over the place. There might be an updated slider set tomorrow. There might be an updated slider set in like 2-3 weeks. It's all about the tuning and stuff like that. So it's a good place over there to stay in touch with these sliders as they get updated. But all I want to do is kind of share what I'm using. Full credit, Matt 10 sliders. That is what I'm using right now. So we will start by this. You need to start in just the main hub here. Start in the main menus, and then you're going to save these once we're done, and then you're going to import them into your Madden 24 franchise mode. Those are the steps that he suggests to do. I've always kind of did that. Sometimes I get lazy with it, and I just set up my main franchise. We're going to follow it to an absolute T. So these are all Madden sliders. We're going sim game style. Now, I will just say right now, there is... I don't fault anybody playing All-Pro. I play All-Pro in my rebuilds because I don't want it to be super challenging. My challenge is building my team. I don't want my challenge also being on the sticks. My rebuilds are always on All-Pro, but All Madden is just, I always just, it's what you want to play. It's not maybe, I don't know if it's still a little bit of an ego thing, but if you play All-Pro and you just never want to make that switch to All Madden, one, over on Operation Sports, in that thread that I'm going to link, he also has All-Pro sliders, which you want to check out as well. We're just showing All Madden here today, so the video doesn't get too confusing. But secondly, this is how the game is designed to play. There have been firsthand from developers at EA that work on Madden saying this game, franchise mode, is designed to be played on All-Pro sim game style. So if you're not playing All Madden, and you're like a little worried, like, oh man, maybe not good, like, this is how the game is designed to play. So it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world at all. But for everyone that wants an All Madden experience, this is why you need the sliders, because All Madden is ridiculously cheesy and hard, and getting a good set of sliders can make the world of difference. So we have 12-minute quarters, accelerated clock on, 20-second play clock. I like 12 minutes, and this is actually, Matt 10 has it on his sliders, but I've always played 12 minutes just because I find it gives me the best balance when I'm playing both offense and defense. On offense, I can run the football and not feel like I'm getting rushed, and not get to a spot where like I just have to throw the football because I'm running out of time. So you can always get your realistic NFL area code of rushing attempts in the game at 12 minutes. You also, on the defensive side, can get a realistic amount of tackles. If you're playing 7-minute quarters, you're probably like, well, how come my linebackers never get 100 tackles in a season and stuff like that? Well, it's because the game goes by too quickly. So I found like 12 minutes is the best spot if you want to try to have realistic stats if you're playing and using on every single game, but not everyone has 12 minutes. So that is obviously a personal preference. Passing mechanics, just leave this on default. Gameplay helpers, leave this on default. Sometimes I like ball hawk on. Sometimes I like it off. And usually my franchise mode is something that I just toggle all these off. But I mean, by all means, you can leave them on. They're not going to drastically change it. There's nice little boosts here or there. Going down to the player sliders. All right, we got injuries on 15. This is the only thing that's different on my sliders than what Matt 10 recommends. He has his on 25. I feel like it's still a little bit high, personally. Usually actually run injuries on 10, but we got up to 15 this year, and in our Cardinals franchise, we've already had a couple injuries here or there. More so in-game, like guys who get bumped up from the game in the return, but we had Corey Clement, who was our star running back in the preseason. He got hurt for 4 weeks, week 1, so I feel like the injuries are in a pretty good spot, and I like them at 15. We leave default fatigue at 50, and the player speed parity scale down to 45. Now, I had this on 50. So far playing the Cardinals franchise. And my biggest complaint has been the fact that I got 2 freak linebackers, Owen Popo and Isaiah Simmons, and they are, in terms of pursuit, like just getting left in the dust to running backs that have like 88 speed. right? Shouldn't be happening, so we're shaving off a couple points here. The lower you go on the player speed parity scale, the bigger discrepancy is going to be between fast and slow players. So the fact that Matt 10 had this at 45, it's already kind of lining up with how I'm feeling for my gameplay experience on default. So I like this at 45. Could be room to make it even, knock it down to 40. But this video here is more so highlighting Matt 10 sliders right now in all Madden versus like my personal preference. But always, you can use these Matt 10 sliders as a base and then adjust your personal experience off of that. So those are the game options. Now we're going to take a look at the penalties. You wouldn't think, especially if you're like a novice, if you're just starting to look into Madden sliders, that penalties do anything to your gameplay other than just make it so more penalties get called. However, like that's what I would have thought. It definitely changes the way the game played. A lot of this is like through the trenches, and how corners react. So we have offsides up to 55, false start up to 55, offensive holding up to 85, face mask 55. These are all default. You turn intentional grounding off. This is something that I just do every single game. It's like when I mute the menu music. Next thing, intentional grounding off. Just makes the CPU that you're going up against a little more aggressive, which is exactly what you want. And then we have illegal contact turned off. So those are the two you're going to need to shift off. And then you bump up all of these penalty variables up a little bit. Now, here's what we're rocking with player skill. A lot of defaults here. And I feel like accuracy's fine. I feel like the pass blocking's fine. I feel like the catching's fine. I'm not getting sacked a ridiculous amount. And the only times I do is if like a Micah Parsons or a Nick Bosa gets in their X factor and my offensive line sucks. And it's kind of realistic that they absolutely get owned. We got run blocking down to 35. Yeah, a lot of pancakes. Run blocking is a little overpowered right now on both sides of the football. Don't worry, we're going to talk about this when we get to the computer skill side. But we knocked that down to 35. We have the defense reaction time up to 52. Interceptions down to 45. Interceptions definitely not as overpowered as they were in Madden 23. If you watched my Panthers franchise last year, all of our starting corners would have 5 interceptions minimum. And while I like to, pat myself on the back and be like, man, I was an absolute beast last year, interceptions were pretty high across the board. So while we do bump up reaction time and the pass coverage, we're going to knock interceptions down to 45. We're leaving tackling here at 50. Tackling does feel pretty good. The only time tackling feels bad is if you're doing one of those mini games where you get to tackle your quarterback through the target and they have like a scrambling quarterback and they just break everything, which is unbelievably frustrating. But other than that, tackling feels pretty good in game. We knocked down the field goal accuracy to 45 and leave everything else on default. And then for the CPU skill, we have accuracy down to 48. This is something that's like, this is probably usually the one attribute that like almost needs to go to your personal tuning. You can start at 48, but then if you're still hopping in games and the opposing quarterback is going 15 to 17, he's going 23 to 26 every single game. And it's not just the best quarterbacks. It's not just the Patrick Mahomes, not just the Joe Burrows. It's, the Dak Prescotts, the Jacoby Brissetts, the Baker Mayfields. If those guys are going off, you may want to shift this down. And you go down to 45, no issue. Last year, I had this down in the 30s, and it felt good because it just makes it so it's a little bit more realistic in terms of bad quarterbacks, not also just throwing all over your team. We got wide receiver catching down to 48. Their run blocking's also nerfed down to 35, so it's it's still pretty level playing field between you and the CPU run blocking. Their interceptions are also knocked down to 45. Everything else is default, tackling default, and the field goal accuracy is now default. So that is the sliders. And what you want to do here is while you're in these sliders, let's just go over your player skill real quick. You're going to want to save. We'll hit right stick here. We're going to save these as Matt. We'll just call them Matt. So what you want to do is save these. Now, you're going to want to go create a franchise. Because I don't know, maybe there's some people that don't know how to import sliders. If that is the case, don't worry, because I've never really even told people that that is what you want to do. So you're just going to create a new league. We'll go active roster here. Gotta wait. Oh my God, look how long. That's one thing that has been not ideal about Madden 24 is like the server side of things. While it hasn't got to the point that it did in Madden 23 where you couldn't access your franchise modes anymore. The franchises would be they would brick pretty much. You'd get stuck in an infinite loop, have to restart. I mean, that's the reason why there's a lot of discounts getting handed out for Madden 24. So while like from a reliability standpoint, I guess the servers have been off to a great start. The speeds and everything has definitely been a little bit on the underwhelming side. So you're starting your franchise. You might think, oh, I got to import all these sliders again, or manually do it. No, you can just go right here, start your franchise up, right here in the preseason. Let's just let it load. You want to go to your options, and then from there you go to your user settings. And I already think I messed this up. I don't think you go to user settings. You do not go to user settings. You go to your options, and then you go to your league settings. And from your franchise league settings, you need to go to your gameplay sliders. I do not have a set of XP sliders yet. Whenever something like that shifts up, we'll definitely showcase that to everybody. But these are just for gameplay. And now you can hit Y to import custom sliders. And look at that. You hit Y right away, and it is everything that we had lined up from the main menu. And this is currently what is recommended. And it even goes all the way down to penalties, which is perfect. In previous games, that'd be 2 different steps. It is now a little bit more optimized. So let me know how you guys feel about these sliders in the comment section below. Again, I will link Matt 10 sliders post over on operationsports.com. So if you need a little bit of elaboration, like why is run blocking down to 35, he goes into detail as to where, why, and how he's adjusting all of these variables. And those are all future version updates. And it's not going to be worth making a video if he's like, well, next update, we're going to knock down this to 48, and that's the only change. But if there's ever something that's gigantic, where he just completely starts shaving 5-10 points off multiple things, I'll definitely keep you guys in the loop. Maybe it won't be a specific video. Maybe I'll just update you in the Cardinals franchise. But these are the most reliable sliders that are released every single year, every single new Madden. They're what I'm using in my Cardinals franchise. So maybe that's exactly what can help you guys out if you are playing on All Madden. And if you're playing on All Pro, he also has a set of All Pro sliders that you can check out. But that'll do it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'm still snooping the webs for a good set of XP sliders, especially now in Madden 24, where there are so many variables that you can control in XP sliders, which is awesome. But it's also overwhelming. It's also going to require a lot of testing to get these into a really, really good spot. Not so much like the offensive and defensive progression rate. Those are no different than what we've had the last couple years. But when you get to the age progression rates, when you get to the regression rates, when you get to the positional regression rates, all these different things, there's just a lot of testing that needs to go in. So as soon as something juicy gets dropped by some people that are a lot more in touch with how these sliders work than I am, I will pass it on to you guys. As always, just give off full credit. So if you did learn something, go check out Matt 10's post over on Operation Sports and let me know how they feel for you guys. And I'll see you back here on the next one tomorrow. We got Cardinals franchise. Friday, we got a new rebuild. It's going to be awesome. I'll see you then. Peace out. Love ya. Have a good one.